Everyone, I'm Nathan, and welcome to NSSN News. Today, we are being joined by former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh was congressman in Illinois from 2011 to 2013. He was a member of the Tea Party movement until President Trump was elected. Initially, he supported Trump, then he became very anti-Trump and actually launched a campaign in 2020 to challenge Trump, where he ended up dropping out after Iowa. He supported Biden in 2020. If I'm corrected, you've endorsed Biden this year too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we start talking about your life, I just want to ask you, how do you think this country is going, and what is the direction this country has been taking ever since Trump got out of office?
Ever since Trump got out of office?
Yep.
Yeah, I think, Nathan, it's on the same path we've been on since before Trump even first got elected. America is really in a bad place. We're dangerously divided. I think the country is trying to figure out if we want to stay together as one country. I really believe that.
You're very worried about divisions in this country, it seems, and you think Biden's the one to fix the divisions?
Oh, gosh, no, not at all. I don't, by the way, I don't know that I don't think there's a politician that can fix it.
Mhm.
I think if America is going to stay together, it's because the American people are going to get off their ass and do what's expected of them. So, no, my support for Biden is purely because he's not Trump. Trump's a unique danger, but no politician's going to save us.
I see. So going back to the start of your political career, you mounted runs in the 1990s and then you got elected in 2010. But what sort of got you involved and interested in the politics and what's going on in the country?
I've always loved politics from when I was your age. I've always been interested in politics. I've always been interested in ideas. I've always been interested in America and American history. My mom was a historian and a teacher. And I've just always felt like a mission. I've always had a mission to try to help make the country better and more free. So that's always generally put me out there. Like I've done a lot of teaching. I've been involved in a lot of policy work, and I threw my hand into politics a couple times as well. Lost some, won once.
Ran in 2010. What got you excited? What made you want to run then?
I was fucking pissed off about the debt. I was fucking pissed off at Obama. I was pissed off at Republicans and Democrats because they were spending fucking money that we didn't have. And it was money that was going to bankrupt you, Nathan, bankrupt your generation. I thought it was wrong. And so I said, fuck it, I'm angry. I had no business running because I didn't have a lot of money at the time. But I said, I'm going to do this because I'm pissed off at both parties. So I ran and I kind of became part of that Tea Party movement, and I barely won, but I kind of rode that Tea Party wave and got elected.
And where does it stand now? America is trillions of dollars in debt. Do you still think that is a big issue? And do you think that Democrats and Republicans have to stop spending money?
It remains a big issue, an even bigger issue now. And yes, neither party, Nathan, gives a damn about it. Neither party. And eventually it's going to make America crash. So yes, that's still one of my most animating issues.
So after you were in Congress, you lost because of redistricting, and that whole thing happened. And you initially supported President Trump the night before you made comments about if he lost. But then it seems that mid 2017, 2018, you just lost it with Trump. What kind of caused you to move on from Trump?
That's, Nathan, that's such a great question. What made me move on from Trump was I started to actually pay attention to him. And I didn't pay enough attention to him before he got elected, which is weird, Nathan, because I was on Fox News every day. I was a talk radio guy, so I was on about 100 stations around the country. I was Mr. Politics, but I never really paid a lot of attention to Trump. I never really took him seriously when he was first running. Nathan, I understand why people were drawn to him because the same people were drawn to me. I felt like our political system's broken. I was saying this stuff before Trump even ran. I think both parties are broken. I think we need a third party, a fourth party. We need to change the way we elect people. Um, Washington needs disruption. So when Trump started to run and he said, I'm going to drain the swamp and burn it down and shake it up, all of that shit. Again, I didn't pay a lot of attention to him, but I understood why people were drawn to that because we needed to shake Washington up. Once he got elected, I started to pay attention to him. And every day I just realized that this guy is a disruptor, but he's a bad disruptor. He's an evil, dishonest disruptor, and he's un-American. So eventually I turned away from him at great cost.
And after you turned away from him, you tried to stop him literally running for Republican nomination for president. You weren't successful, but in that bid, just give some background to the viewers. What made you start to run, and then how did you end up launching that campaign?
That's the craziest damn thing I ever did, Nathan. By the time 2019 came around and I was publicly anti-Trump, and by that time, once, and this is important, Nathan, as a Republican and as a right-wing media guy, once you publicly come out against Trump, you're pretty much done as a Republican. So I lost my radio show. I lost Fox News. The thought of me running again as a Republican became almost impossible because you have to bend your knee to Trump. I felt like somebody should run against Trump in 2020 because I was a conservative. I was a Tea Party constitutional conservative. That's not what Trump is or was. So I felt somebody's got to run against that and say, this is what conservatism is. I encouraged Mitt Romney to run. Anybody, nobody would, so I did. Once I ran, it became clear to me that Donald Trump had a hold on the voters and I couldn't break it.
So not as drastic, but a similar thing is happening with Biden, that members of the people that elected him are kind of turning against him. He has some of the lowest approval ratings for a president in history. Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, a couple of others launched bids against him. When that was happening in the summer of last year, would you encourage people to run against the president, or do you think it's too dangerous?
Well, it's very dangerous. That's a good point, Nathan. The minute I ran against Trump, I would get death threats on a weekly basis. So it's literally dangerous, but it's also kind of it really puts your career at risk. I believe in competition. Look, Joe Biden's really old, right? Right. So I would have understood if a younger Democrat got in to challenge him. That's fine. And that only makes it should, in theory, make Biden a better candidate. So I would have always embraced and welcomed something like that.
Mhm. And so after your run, you are not deregistered as a Republican, now an independent. Do you ever plan on rejoining any party, or are you just done with the political parties as a concept?
Really good question, Nathan. I'm older than you. I don't think this Republican Party would ever welcome someone like me back. Once you become Joe Walsh or Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger, I just think you're done as a Republican. So I don't think I'll ever be a Republican again. I think I'm probably too conservative for the Democratic Party. I think, and I've felt this way for a while, I know in your lifetime, but I think in the next 6 to 8 years, there may be a new major political party that comes up. And that could be something I could become a part of. If I ever wanted to run again, I think you're also going to see more and more independents run. I could see doing that.
And right now, No Labels, which is forming themselves as a party run by former Senator Joe Lieberman, they're trying to get a candidate around. You've endorsed Biden. You said that you don't think it's good for them to run. Why do you think this year is not a good time to create a third, fourth party?
Trump, Trump, Nathan. And you can disagree with me, and a lot of people do. I believe Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. So right now, no third party, no labels, no nothing. Right now, we have to stop this guy. And after November, no labels, another party, whatever, bring it on. But that's just my opinion. Right now, the best and easiest way to beat Trump is to give every voter one other option, Biden or Trump. And that's all. I just want to beat Trump. To me, that's the most pressing need.
So basically, you're saying you would support anyone that's not Donald Trump for president. That's what it sounds.
Well, yes, but you understand and I understand. The next president is either going to be the Democratic nominee or the Republican nominee. Like RFK Jr. isn't going to be president. No other third party candidate's going to be president. So the next president's going to be the Democrat or the Republican. By the way, Nathan, I hope that changes one day, but it won't change this year. So the Republican nominee, it looks like, is going to be Trump. So I will support whoever the Democratic nominee is, because Trump needs to be beaten, because to me, he's the threat. And I
Mhm.
get a lot of people disagree with me about that.
So talking about Trump being the threat and going back to primarying, Trump had 10, 15 primary opponents. Chris Christie, one of them. I know you've attacked DeSantis and Haley for not going with a tone about Trump, but did you ever think about supporting Governor Christie?
No. Well, uh, no. Great question, Nathan. Let me say something. I always thought Trump would be the nominee. Like, I never thought anybody could beat him this time around, any Republican. Because look, it's Trump's party. And Jonathan, Nathan, excuse me, Nathan, no sour grapes. Like, it's Trump's party. It's not mine. He won. The voters believe in him. Republicans do. So I never thought DeSantis, Haley, anybody could beat him. I knew Christie couldn't because you can't run as an anti-Trump in the Republican Party. So Chris Christie never had a chance to win. Um, I wouldn't have supported any other Republican because my red line was I wouldn't support a Republican who voted for Trump in 2020. And Chris Christie voted for Trump in 2020. So did Liz Cheney, by the way. But it was always going to be Trump's.
Mhm.
It's
And
his party.
now moving from, I'd say, negatives of the political system, there are a couple of Republican candidates running this time with a slightly a more moderate tone towards Trump, and one of them is Congressman Justin Amash, who is from Michigan, and he voted to impeach Trump. He, like you, was very focused on the debt issue. How do you feel about people running as Republican in the Senate and trying to basically, I wouldn't say the outright message is that we're going to oppose Trump if he becomes president, but how do you feel about electing, moderate Republicans? Is that something that would be better to you, or is voting a Democrat that fully supports Biden and his agenda?
No, it's another really good question, Nathan. I love Justin Amash. He and I got elected together. We were classmates. Justin Amash is great. We need more Justin Amashes. I think Justin's going to have a really hard time winning that primary because he isn't pro-Trump. He is more of a never Trumper. But that, oh gosh, look, I left the party. I have a lot of respect for Republicans who still stay in the party and try to fight Trump within the party. My friend Adam Kinzinger is that way. He's still a Republican. Now, Justin Amash is kind of odd because he left the Republican Party and now he's running again as a Republican to become a senator. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If I were Justin, I'd run as a libertarian. That's what he was. But no, I support any never Trumper Republican.
So when you mean never Trumper, what do you mean by that? Because you said Liz Cheney voted for Trump in 2020, but you also said you wouldn't support someone who voted for Trump in
Yeah,
2020.
I support her now. I think it's always important for people to know that my thing, like we all, Nathan, we all have our kind of red lines. My red line with any Republican is if you watched that guy in the White House for 4 fucking years, you watched him in the White House and you still voted for him in 2020, I couldn't vote for you. That was Chris Christie and Liz Cheney. Remember, January 6th was what changed Chris Christie and Liz Cheney. But that's just my red line. Most never Trumpers, Nathan, are not like me. They would support any other Republican besides Trump. They would support DeSantis. I'm unusual among never Trumpers.
And moving less about supporting Trump, certain opinions, have you changed any of your rhetoric and opinions of basically issues? You talked about a lot of debt. That sounds the same, but from what I've seen, mostly social issues. Is that something that you've sort of changed because of Trump and because of the divisiveness of both parties?
Yeah, a little bit. Nathan, one way to look at it is I've always been libertarian slash conservative, right? A more of a limited government guy. I used to be a political asshole. I was very divisive, and people like me helped lead to Trump. Trump's election woke me up, so I'm no longer a political asshole. I'm still philosophically pretty much the same. I have changed on some things. I've opened my eyes on some things. I've become more aware of issues like the climate. I'm more tolerant of issues like gender. Um, but I'm still generally the same guy politically. Uh, Keep my taxes low. Don't spend money you don't have. I can carry a gun wherever I want to carry a gun. I'm a free speech guy. Don't tell me what I can and cannot say. So I'm still generally the same kind of guy politically.
Hmm. And what are you going to be doing with your platform in this upcoming election? You talked about Justin Amash. You talked about supporting other Republicans who will say no to Trump. Larry Hogan, I would mention. Are you going to support Larry Hogan?
Yeah, I just wish he wasn't so much of such a weenie. I wish Larry Hogan would say I'm going to support Biden, but he's running for Senate. I get
Yeah.
it. So I have a large platform. I'm still on TV a lot. I go on the radio. I got a podcast. I blah blah blah, Twitter, everything. I'm using my platform to do two things, Nathan, to help defeat Trump and to help defeat MAGA candidates. I'm also using my platform to try to help end the divisiveness in this country. Because, Nathan, I believe no matter who wins in November, the country's going to be exhausted and 100 times more divided. And if this country remains, if we remain at each other's throats, I don't think our democracy can make it anyways. So I'm working on trying to help fix that.
So it seems as if your fear is the something happening with American democracy in this election. And moving on to other elections in this world right now, Russia's having an election, and Russia and Ukraine is a huge issue and something that you've attacked Trump. You say he's, been allied with Putin. What do you think Republican candidates and Democratic candidates can do involving the Russian-Ukraine war?
Well, I'll just correct you. I'll correct you on one point. Russia really didn't have an election. We can't call Putin. He was appointed again. That's not an election. What should we do? Um, and Nathan, my congressional record and my public record, I'm not one of these guys who wants America to be the world's policeman, and I don't want American troops everywhere. And we were in Afghanistan 20 years too damn long, and we never should have invaded Iraq. I'm generally have a really strong military and use it when our interests are at stake. This is a ground war, an invasion in Europe. We care about that. So we should be helping Ukraine as much as possible, giving them as much as possible when it comes to military aid to help them push back and get Russia the hell out of their country. And I think generally Biden's done a pretty good job of building a coalition. I hope Republicans will vote to approve the aid.
And why do you think Republicans are not going to vote to approve the aid? Some say the reason is, the debt. Some say other reasons that they came up with. What do you think is the reason?
Yeah, the debt's bullshit. That's this. We're talking 60 billion is peanuts. It's not even peanuts. There within my former party, Nathan, and I think it's bigger than a wing. There's a real embrace of authoritarianism, and some of the more extreme members actually are pro-Putin. I think that's a big element. I think there is the element that in the Republican Party, build a wall around America, keep everybody out, and keep America out of the rest of the world. That's part of what's going on. And then there's Trump. Trump, for some reason, wants to do whatever Putin wants. And Donald Trump made clear again just last week that if elected, he won't give Ukraine another dime. There are Republicans who will do whatever Trump says.
Mhm. Now switching back to you, you said you're an independent. Do you think you'll ever run for office again?
I hope so. I'd love here. I don't know. No bullshit. That's an honest answer. I don't know. Nathan, I have an unusual, unique voice because of what I've been through. I'm going to keep using my voice to push the things I believe in and to try to bring the country together. If that means I run for office one day, great. I just don't know.
And what is your final message through everything you're doing this election? What is your one message to Americans?
Get off your ass and start becoming responsible citizens again. This is the greatest country, Nathan, in the history of the world. It's unique. It's the only country in the history of the world founded upon an idea, a government of the people, freedom. We're no longer doing our job. The American people are no longer tolerant of people they disagree with. They're no longer respectful toward people they disagree. The American people no longer stay informed. We're easily lied to, and we don't participate like we should. Our democracy will stop if the American people stop doing what is expected of them. Period.
So you want to return to normal, basically, is what you're saying. But what
I
normal
want
do
to
you,
return to a country where government is small and the American people are big, doing what they're supposed to be doing. I want to return to a country, Nathan, where I elect you, Nathan. You go to Congress for 6 years, you come back home, and then somebody else goes. And we don't have career politicians. I want the American people to be more involved again.
Thank you. And where can people find more about you?
Um, if you tweet at Walsh Freedom, my specific email address, if you want to talk to me about anything, is joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. That's all one word. joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. Thanks, Nathan.
Yep. Thanks again, Joe. And this has been NSSN News. For more, visit nssn.substack.com. Thank you for watching.